Welcome back to Unsolicited Feedback, the podcast where we cut through the noise, skip the corporate jargon, and get real about what actually drives results. Because let's be honest, hope is not a business strategy. I'm your host, Chuck Knabusch, the operations guy, and after 40 plus years across the military, corporate America, and now entrepreneurship, I've seen what works, what breaks, and why leadership, planning, and execution are the great separators between average and exceptional results. As you're catching the replay, send your thoughts or challenges directly to me at chuck@13ten.com, chuck@1310.com. As your time matters, let's jump straight into today's topic. Leaders lead, develop, and achieve. Why most leaders only do one, and why that's killing results. Let me start with a statement that might make some people uncomfortable. Most leaders don't actually lead. They manage tasks. They chase metrics. They react to problems. But leadership? That's a different discipline entirely. The U.S. Army has spent over 2 centuries refining leadership under conditions where failure has consequences far beyond missed quarterly targets. From combat zones to humanitarian missions to logistics operations that make most supply chains look like lemonade stands. They've had to get leadership right or pay dearly. After all that time, all that blood, sweat, and after-action reviews, the Army distilled leadership down to 3 verbs. Leaders lead, leaders develop, and leaders achieve. That's it. 3 words, no buzzwords, no personality tests, no inspirational quotes slapped on a boardroom wall. And yet, most organizations only reward one of these. They reward achievement. Sometimes they tolerate leading. They almost never measure development. And that imbalance is the root cause of burnout, disengagement, underperformance, and the endless leadership churn we see today. So in this video, we're going to break this down the way the Army does. What lead, develop, and achieve actually mean. Where leaders screw this up, often with good intentions, and why the fixes most companies try don't work. And one concrete shift you can make to move from accidental leadership to intentional leadership. No sugarcoating, no hope as a strategy nonsense. Let's get into it. The biggest problem, leadership has been reduced to results. Let's go ahead and give you the problem in plain English. The biggest problem with leadership today is simple. We've confused leadership with output. If someone gets results, we call them a leader. If a team hits numbers, we assume leadership is happening. If performance slips, we swap out the leader and try again. But the Army doesn't define leadership by outcomes alone. Outcomes matter, but how those outcomes are achieved matters just as much. In Army Doctrine, leadership is defined as the activity of influencing people by providing purpose, direction, and motivation to accomplish the mission and improve the organization. Notice something? Not hit the numbers, not maximize shareholder value, not crush the quarter. Leadership is influence plus purpose plus development plus results. When organizations overemphasize achievement, leaders optimize short-term wins. Teams burn out. Talent leaves. Culture erodes, quietly at first, then suddenly. Second, more dangerous challenge we see, and here's the more subtle challenge. Most leaders don't know which of the 3 they're neglecting. They think they're leading. They believe they're developing people. They assume results will sustain themselves. But leadership without balance turns into, if you lead plus achieve but don't develop, turns into a burnout factory. If you develop plus achieve but no leadership, chaos and confusion result. If you lead and develop, but no achievement, you have a great culture, but no business. The Army doesn't allow imbalance, and neither should you. The biggest symptom: busy, exhausted teams with fragile results. If this problem exists in your organization, the symptoms are painfully consistent. Symptom 1, everything feels urgent, but nothing feels important. Leaders are in back-to-back meetings, constantly firefighting, always just one crisis away from missing targets. Sound familiar? That's what happens when achievement crowds out leadership discipline. Symptom number 2, you have strong performers, but weak benches. You've got a few heroes holding everything together. If one leaves, retires, or burns out, the whole system begins to wobble. That's not leadership. That's organizational gambling. The Army plans leadership depth deliberately. They have primary leaders, alternate leaders, and succession at every level. Most businesses, let's hope Bob doesn't quit. Symptom number 3, training exists, but development doesn't. Organizations love courses and certifications, learning portals that maybe no one logs into. But development, that requires leaders to coach, observe, give feedback, and correct behavior early. Training is an event. Development is a relationship. The Army understands the difference, and most organizations don't. Symptom number 4, metrics improve while morale drops. This one's dangerous because leadership thinks everything is working. Numbers look okay. Turnover quietly increases. Engagement begins to slide, and innovation stalls. By the time the metrics catch up, the damage is already done. So, what do most people try to do to fix it? And here's where it gets predictable. Fix attempt number 1, more KPIs. When results slip, leaders add more dashboards, more scoreboards, more reporting. Metrics are important, but metrics don't lead people. The Army uses measures, but they don't confuse measurement with leadership. Fix attempt number 2, leadership training programs. Don't get me wrong, training matters, but most leadership programs teach concepts, not behaviors, not habits, not daily execution. Leaders leave inspired. They go right back to the same calendar, the same incentives, and the same pressure. Fix attempt number 3, incentives and bonuses. If we pay them more, they'll lead better. Except incentives tend to drive achievement, not development, not ethical decision-making, not long-term thinking. The Army doesn't bonus leaders for hitting numbers. They evaluate leaders on how they lead people. Fix attempt number 4, replacing the leader. This is the nuclear option, and it happens far too often. Sometimes it's necessary. Most of the time, it's lazy. You don't have a leadership problem. You have a system problem that produces bad leadership behaviors. So why do those solutions rarely work? Well, here's the hard truth. You can't fix a leadership imbalance with tools designed for achievement. Reason number 1, the system rewards the wrong things. Leaders do what gets rewarded, period. If promotions, bonuses, and praise come from short-term results, crisis response, or heroic effort, then guess what leaders will optimize? The Army evaluates leaders on leading, developing, and achieving. Miss one consistently, your career stalls. Reason number 2, development is invisible in the short term. Development doesn't show up on dashboards this quarter. It shows up in resilience, in adaptability, in who steps up when things go sideways. Most organizations are too impatient to wait for development to pay off. Reason number 3, leadership has been individualized instead of systematized. We talk about great leaders as if leadership is a personality trait. The Army treats leadership as a system with doctrine, standards, shared language, and consistent expectations. If leadership depends on charisma, you don't have leadership. You have luck. Reason number 4, leaders aren't taught to balance the three. Most leaders default to their comfort zone. Former operators chase achievement. Former trainers focus on development. Charismatic leaders emphasize influence. The Army forces leaders to operate outside their comfort zone because, well, lives depend on it. The one thing that actually moves the needle, here it is, simple, uncomfortable, but effective. Start evaluating leaders weekly on lead, develop, and achieve separately. Not annually, not vaguely, not in HR language, weekly. What this looks like in practice. At the end of every week, a leader should be able to answer under lead, who did I influence this week? Where did I provide clarity? Where did I make a decision instead of punting? Under develop, who did I coach? Who did I give feedback to? And what capability did I intentionally build? Under achieve, what moved the mission forward? What measurable progress occurred? What obstacles did I remove? If one column is empty, leadership didn't happen, no matter how busy the week felt. So why does this work? Well, it forces balance. It reveals blind spots, and ultimately, it turns leadership into a discipline, not just a vibe. The Army doesn't ask leaders, do you feel like you led today? They ask, what did you do? The counterintuitive truth, the fastest way to improve results is often to slow down achievement long enough to lead and develop properly. That feels wrong until it works. So the Army's leadership model isn't complex, but it is demanding. Lead, develop, achieve. Miss one, and the other two eventually fail. If your organization is struggling with burnout, turnover, inconsistent execution, leadership whiplash, it's probably not because people don't care. It's because leadership has been narrowed to a single outcome. Leadership isn't what you accomplish. It's what you leave behind when you're not in the room. And that's a standard worth holding. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Unsolicited Feedback. Thanks for joining me. But don't just nod along. Apply something from today's conversation. Because results don't show up just from listening. They show up because you did something. Even one small action this week will move the needle farther than a month of good intentions. If you want to go deeper, scan the QR code or schedule a 30-minute strategy chat. I'd love to hear how you're using planning, leadership, and execution to make sure hope never becomes your business strategy. Drop a comment and like the episode. Once again, I'm Chuck Knabusch. Until next time, stay focused, stay disciplined, and don't you dare rely on hope.